It's June 28th, 1914, Sarajevo, Bosnia. A motorcade is driving through the city. In the back seat is Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. He's on an official visit to a territory that the Austro-Hungarian Empire had recently annexed. A young man, 19 years old, with a gun, steps out of the crowd. He fires 2 shots. One hits Franz Ferdinand. One hits his wife, Sophie. By the time they reach the hospital, both are dead. Within weeks, the entire continent is at war. Within a month, the war has spread to engulf most of Europe. And by the time the war ends, millions of people are dead. All because of a single assassination. This is the story of how one bullet killed millions. The Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1914 was a massive, multi-ethnic state in Central Europe. It was ruled by an elderly emperor, Franz Joseph, who had been ruling for over 60 years. Franz Ferdinand was his great-nephew and the heir to the throne. Franz Ferdinand was not particularly popular. He was seen as arrogant and stubborn, but he was going to be the next emperor, and that made him important. Bosnia had recently been annexed by Austria-Hungary. This was controversial. Bosnia was a territory that many people in the Balkans wanted to be part of a larger South Slavic state. Serbian nationalists, in particular, resented Austro-Hungarian control of Bosnia. They wanted all South Slavic peoples united under Serbian leadership. The annexation of Bosnia had sparked anger and resentment. Serbian nationalists saw it as an insult. Franz Ferdinand decided to visit Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia, on June 28th. The date itself was significant. It was the anniversary of the Battle of Kosovo, a legendary medieval battle that was hugely important to Serbian identity and Serbian nationalism. Choosing this date for the visit was seen as provocative. It was like rubbing salt in the wound. It was like saying to the Serbian nationalists, "We don't care about your history. We're in control now." A group of Serbian nationalists had decided to assassinate Franz Ferdinand. They wanted to strike a blow against Austro-Hungarian imperialism. They obtained weapons and positioned themselves along the route of the motorcade. There were several conspirators. One of them, Nedeljko Cabrinovic, threw a bomb at the motorcade. The bomb didn't hit Franz Ferdinand directly. It bounced off the car and exploded under the next vehicle, wounding some of the officers, but not the Archduke. Franz Ferdinand was shaken, but decided to continue with his schedule. He went to meet with the governor of Bosnia. After the meeting, he decided to visit the wounded officers in the hospital. The motorcade set off again, this time taking a different route. But the conspirators still had another chance. Gavrilo Princip, a 19-year-old, had been positioned along the original route. After the failed bomb attack, he had given up and was sitting at a cafe, feeling defeated. He thought the assassination attempt was over. But then, by pure chance, the motorcade's driver made a wrong turn. The driver took a turn that wasn't supposed to be on the route. The driver turned directly in front of the cafe where Gavrilo Princip was sitting. Princip couldn't believe his luck. He had a second chance. He pulled out his gun and fired. He fired multiple times. He hit Franz Ferdinand. He hit Sophie. Franz Ferdinand died within minutes. Sophie died shortly after. They were taken to the hospital, but there was nothing that could be done. The Archduke was dead. The Austro-Hungarian government was furious. They blamed Serbia. They blamed Serbian nationalists. They wanted revenge. The Austro-Hungarian government issued a list of demands to Serbia. The demands were essentially designed to be unacceptable. They demanded that Serbia allow Austro-Hungarian officials into Serbian territory to investigate. They demanded that Serbia suppress all Serbian nationalist organizations. They demanded things that would essentially make Serbia a vassal state of Austria-Hungary. Serbia refused. They rejected the demands. The Austro-Hungarian Empire declared war on Serbia on July 28, 1914. This was exactly 1 month after the assassination. Now here's where it gets complicated.
Europe in 1914 was a web of alliances. Germany was allied with Austria-Hungary, Russia was allied with Serbia, France was allied with Russia, and Britain was bound
by treaty to defend Belgium. When Austria-Hungary invaded Serbia, Russia mobilized its army to defend Serbia. When Russia mobilized, Germany became worried. Germany saw Russian mobilization as a threat. Germany declared war on Russia. Germany then decided to invade France. But to get to France, Germany had to
go through Belgium. Britain had promised to defend Belgian neutrality. When Germany invaded Belgium, Britain declared war on Germany. Within weeks, almost all of Europe was at war. Germany was fighting France, Russia, and Britain. Austria-Hungary was fighting Serbia and Russia. Italy would eventually join against Austria-Hungary. The Ottoman Empire would join on the side of Germany and Austria-Hungary. What started as a regional conflict in the Balkans had become a continent-wide war, all because of the assassination of one man. The First World War was catastrophic. It was supposed to be over by Christmas 1914. People thought it would be quick. Instead, it lasted 4 years. It was the deadliest war the world had ever seen up to that point. Over 17 million people died. Tens of millions more were wounded. Entire generations of young men were wiped out. The war introduced new weapons that made killing more efficient. Machine guns, poison gas, tanks, poison gas. Soldiers sat in trenches for months with no advance, just constant slaughter. The war destroyed the old European order. Empires fell. The Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed. The Russian Empire collapsed. The Ottoman Empire collapsed. New countries were created. New borders were drawn. The map of Europe was completely redrawn. Tens of millions of people were displaced. Entire ethnic groups were displaced. The war created instability that would lead to another, even worse war just 2 decades later. And it all started because a 19-year-old gunman fired a gun at the right moment, at the right place, at the right time. If that motorcade driver hadn't made a wrong turn, Gavrilo Princip wouldn't have had a second chance. If Princip hadn't been sitting at that cafe, the assassination might not have happened. If the assassination hadn't happened, Austria-Hungary wouldn't have declared war on Serbia. If Austria-Hungary hadn't declared war on Serbia, the chain of alliances might not have been triggered. Millions of lives might have been saved. Of course, it's impossible to say what would have happened if the assassination hadn't occurred. There was a lot of tension in Europe. There were a lot of imperial rivalries. There was a lot of nationalist fervor. The First World War might have happened anyway, just triggered by a different event. But the fact remains that this one assassination sparked the